as we saw last game at the very least, but that silo is still open you talked about. I also want to point out that the Viego has been left up and available in the rotation. Things like well, Akali's already banned away. I'm looking. Maybe Thresh if Cold wants to pilot that alongside the Aphelios. A lot of options here for OMG.
I feel like the Viego is just such a good pickup. I'm really surprised JDG didn't go for it, and I would be surprised if OMG didn't go for it here, because not only is it strong, you know, in a plethora of different, you know, like it's strong in mid lane, but it's also a flex pick. You can, you know, hold your cards close to your chest, make the enemy team guess what you're gonna do with it. But OMG are going to opt back into the Silas that we were talking about. Again, very limited champion pool for Creme. Feels like that's one of the areas with OMG that you could exploit. But JDG, for whatever reason, chose not to exploit it and instead going to go back to the NIdalee and Renekton combo. My problem with this for JDG is that JDG do not play around Zoom at all.
Yep.
Last game, we hit on how they could have tried to roam support from bot to top with the prio that they had. They had push in mid lane. They didn't do that. I think Zoom is one of the lowest jungle proximities in all of the LPL.
Wow.
Very different than before, where, sure, JDG still didn't play around him very much in previous splits, but in 2020, you would still typically see Kanavi, you know, make 1 or 2 stops towards the top lane and try to make sure Zoom is set up in a very good position to where he can have a massive influence in the mid game.
Yeah, it feels funny, right? And I think coming back to what we talked about at the start of the segment, we looked at these type of drafts, right? You know, the NIdalee Renekton, something we've seen from JDG before this split. I think on OMG side, seeing the Silas alongside... No, Braum's not really diving, but you see the components there already building up. We are returning to similar kind of drafts as 80 carry bans, OP bans. I was going to say season 11 for JDG. We are rolling a little bit differently, but Loken's still hovering the same AD from game 1.
I feel like there's not really any good options left open, right? You look at what they're setting up for so far with the NIdalee, and I think you'd like a lot of range in your bottom lane. The Ziggs is typically what they were running with these sorts of compositions. Zavaris would be another highlight, but both of those are banned. Ashe is a throwback to last year. It was, in my opinion, Loken's best champion. When you think about Loken early on this split, right, it was a lot of Jhin. So Ashe very much in the same vein.
Yep.
The utility, you bring the engage that you are able to set up. You're going to be able to spam the volley and consistently get prio, but this time around we need to see JDG making early moves. Their composition just signals, hey, we're gonna have a bunch of prio all throughout the early game. We have a lot of aggressive kill potential, but will they be able to use it? Because OMG's comp on the opposite side, super defensive so far. Aphelios, Braum, we got another tank up in the top side. And now for Aki, we're going to be looking at where he goes. You do still have the Olaf available if you want. You are up against an Ashe and a Leona on the opposite side, so a lot of CC that you would be able to target down, and also a champion that is pretty decent against NIdalee in terms of like what is left open, because NIdalee, of course, having a pretty good time in terms of her clear into most matchups.
Yep, Olaf in the end. So you already talked about OMG. Bit of scaling there. I mean, honestly, a bit defensive. I like that wording a lot better, even though the scaling is immense with Mundo, Aphelios, how Silas can get the ball rolling as well in certain matchups. For JDG, getting things happening early, maybe more towards the laning phase with Orianna for Yagao as well. Lyric, is there anything else to walk me through in this one? Is it straightforward as it looks?
Yeah, I really think it is, right? I mean, we know if this game goes ultra late, I don't feel like JDG should have the tools to be able to take down members of OMG. They shouldn't even be in a position where, at that point, they'll be contesting prio as a 5-man setup. JDG, a lot of early tools to start action. Mid lane not going to be one of them, so for JDG, we're going to be looking a lot towards sides. Once again, their bottom lane is going to have push. I would love to see some kind of early impact plays up towards the top side. Mundo is quite a hard champion to deal with, like, later on in the game in terms of, like, diving him and setting him behind, but early on, still a very easy champion to be able to abuse. And for JDG, it's going to be all about setting up Kanavi this time around, which really has always felt like where JDG thrived.
I mean, over the years, in 2020, right, King of the Jungle Kanavi, we know that the latest going to him was a big part of our discussion. All about how you can help Kanavi thrive rather than Kanavi helping you. For JDG, running through in this game, seeing NIdalee, Renekton, you already mentioned that a lot of the time, you know, we haven't seen him play around Zoom up in that top lane. And especially in that game 1, it was quiet up there. If Mundo gets a quiet lane, Mundo will smash. So let's see if OMG can beat them into the pulp for game 2, or if JDG have something to say here in Shanghai, because Lyric, we cannot stress it enough. It is an important series. It's an important game. Loser of this puts themselves in a very bad position where this is the one they could look back on and say, this is why we got eliminated from 2021 Summer Playoffs.
And, you know, that's going to be a theme people are going to be hearing all day. Just to give a bit of a highlight going into our next matchup, IG versus BLG has the same level of importance for both teams. So all day, both of these matches extremely important if you're hoping to get into that top 10 to secure yourself into playoffs and be able to have those best of fives.
And what's the lyric trademark for this? Playoff punch out, right? TM. You need to go and throw a trademark on that, because
but it's not a great title. And let's be real, right? We were setting up that title to have a bit of a, you know, an action-packed, maybe like UFC fighting themed day with our action, but then it just felt like we were repackaging what Munch and Dagda did last year with the Fight Nights.
And they
we
put
can't do
ties
that
on
to
their
them. That's their thing. They do put ties on their head, and it is great. Shout out to Munchables and Dagda.
It's a good segment.
Those guys are awesome.
I'm waiting for the. Have we had a? We haven't had a Fight Night yet from them, have we? I don't think we have.
I don't think so. I don't. You know, I guess it's a call out to Munch and Dagda.
Yep.
What are you boys doing? Where's the Fight Night? But you know, Hysterics probably should focus back on the game and not call out our friends / colleagues. But we've kind of already laid out how cut and dry this one is in terms of big picture. In terms of what we're expecting to see earlier, right? We're already seeing Kanavi path up towards that top side. The NIdalee Renekton is a combo that's been hit on thousands of times about the level of action it has. For Aki, going to path towards the opposite side, should be able to get himself a bot side scuttle. And I feel like a lot of your early game as Aki is just going to be trying to read the plays that Kanavi's going to be looking to make and try to react accordingly and just not let too much action happen. I don't necessarily feel like you need to be answering on the opposite side of the map all that much unless you do have plays like LvMao looking for these roams or skirmishes you absolutely cannot take, which I don't feel like there's too many of for OMG because their composition has a lot of decent defensive and skirmishing tools, right? Sure, they might not have like the strongest isolated lanes, but in terms of like 3v3s, 4v4s, their comp definitely no pushover.
So when we get to the first and second dragon, OMG don't necessarily have to give it away, is what you're saying. That we could be seeing some early skirmishing.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's too likely for the side of OMG. OMG are just trying to counteract whatever JDG are going for. Not going to be able to do too much about any potential first play on top side, but anything after that, once the first resets come out and we're going to be looking to, you know, get through our jungle clears again, I think that's when OMG can opt into more of these fights if they can get counter ganks off and be in the favorable position. Especially for champions like Braum, who are just so good in early skirmishes with that passive. Olaf as well. We saw what Aki did in the last game. And going back to the Braum specifically, right? Braum is such a good champion up against things like Ashe and NIdalee, where your shield really gets so much value against these types of high-impact skill shots.
Even like Orianna to a degree, right, with command attack, can be quite a nuisance to deal with. So feels like Braum once again here for Cold. 2 games in a row, going to have a lot of feeling as Kanavi now tries to make his way into a lane. It's Creme through the mid lane. Kanavi's level 4 and hasn't touched the Scuttle Crab while Aki has. So a little bit of speed here for the OMG jungler, whether he backs, whether he looks for a defensive capability you talked about before. We'll just keep watching. As Kanavi goes in for a deep ward, he will back as well. And so far, so good here in the first moments of the early game, folks. You might expect a bit of a slower game if OMG have their way.
I mean, and you can see up in this top lane so far, right? New hasn't really caved into looking to get any minions he shouldn't have. He's playing very far back in this lane and is down about a wave's worth of minions accordingly because he wasn't looking for any heavy trades. Because had a heavy trade come out for Zoom, that could have been a window where, okay, New's about 50% HP, you can set up a dive in that position. But New not letting it happen, realizing he doesn't need to be up a ton in gold. A lot of his items are on the cheaper side, and he'll be useful come mid-game no matter what happens. So, yeah, Hysterics, it feels like we're going to be here for the long haul. We're going to get a bit of a repeat of Game 1, which I feel like we had like 4 kills at like 17 minutes or something along those lines.
Which is not, you know, not always our flavor. And to be honest, I think some people underestimate how much chaos we have here in the LPL, and sometimes it's nice to chill back and just have a chat. Like, we don't get that. We don't get that often, and I think we got to appreciate it sometimes, you know? It's nice.
The amount of times where we've tried to like talk about the game or point something out, and then suddenly action just appears out of nowhere is, yeah, it's quite a bit. But JDG are going to now actually look for a bit of action, right? Going to use that window where LvMao can roam.
Ooh, undertow through the brush, but LvMao's there and just walks through the Shield of Daybreak, flashes away, wants the blast go, but it's only LvMao who takes it. Now onto Kanavi with Cold there. Can the Olaf get that passive a-rolling? As Exhaust TP, never mind, it is the LPL after all. Abel gets first blood, everyone's in. Chaos melting around us. Abel with Gravitum, Cold over the wall, new as well. JDG are meant to be about the early game, and Zoom trying to make it so. He's hit level 6, he's hit Dominus, but Mundo some mash to make it 2 for 2. Sorry, 3 for 2 in OMG's favor.
And we have 10 people coming down to the bot side at 5 minutes in the game. Right when you're saying, hey, you know, it's nice to chill, have a nice cup of coffee, just, you know, hang back, hang loose, bro. But no, these teams not going for that one. And this also points out what we were talking about with OMG's comp, right? That if they can find like the reactive setup, it's not all too bad for them going for these 5v5s. Aki, unfortunately, had no position that we're here. Throw the undertow doesn't hit. And then it looks like Kanavi was the one who hit him over.
He did.
If my eyes don't deceive me, we see Braum come back in. It forces Kanavi out with the exhaust. Creme able to get involved first. And then OMG just all able to focus on the same target as he was locked in between the whole team. And then once again, members of JDG ending up over the pit, having to flash away, which is leaving them scattered. It's leaving OMG to where they are this death ball that is able to just pick off members individually from JDG while they just keep flashing over the wall. Sure, they ended up getting that Creme kill by doing it, but it left Loken by himself, and it left Zoom in a horrible position as well.
Best caster curves of my life. That's great. It was literally 20 seconds after we said, you know, sometimes it's nice to have games like this where it's not all crazy. I think I said something about overestimating the craziness.
Let's be real, it's not.
Loken's in a bit of trouble here. Concussive blows in the end. Bit of oohing from yours truly as Colt does get the Winter's Bite down. And Loken, lucky to walk away from that one. Okay. Well, now he's out of lane. And OMG, this is just such a great start for a comp that could have just played it slow.
Well, you know, Loken at least makes his way over, gets one honey fruit, but it doesn't mean all that much as OMG's bot lane reading what he's doing, make their way over, actually forcing out a recall from him. So he's going to lose gold, he's going to lose EXP, OMG's bottom lane going to get more damage on this turret. This is just so good for them. We're in a position where it's about a 1k gold lead. They're going to be getting more stats in them as well with the EXP advantages they're going to be building up, if that can turn into level advantages. And now we're turning our eyes back to JDG for what they're going to be able to find, because we haven't seen anything, you know, like opted into towards the top side of the map. I do feel like that was a bit nice on how New played it out. They were the team going for that aggressive invade in the bot side jungle, but that just felt like misexecution coming from JDG, right? Like with how many of them were coming in and out of the fight. Now for JDG, they're not feeling in the best position to contest OMG, and they're just going to go for the trade. They're going to take Dragon and concede the Rift Herald. I
mean, Dragon for Herald, going to be in favor of the team that wants to scale, right, Lyric? You add more gold to these lanes that are already ahead. 10 CS in the mid lane. Mundo behind, but has a kill as well to match, so always going to be fine for the Mundo. And Bot, we just saw, is doing exceptionally well, so OMG going to add more gold to the stockpile at 8 minutes in. And you're right, JDG need to do something because this is the comp that has to get rolling. NIdalee, Renekton, even the Ashe. Something has to give for JDG.
And we're going to see that OMG are just going to move their way up to topside, which is going to leave JDG in this position where they're at least able to trade with Krugs. They're going to be able to get some turret plating onto Loken, but I don't think a trade is what JDG's comp is looking for, right? Because if you're going neutral, the later this game goes, gold is more valuable for OMG's team composition than it is for JDG's.
Yep.
And you hit on a nice point about like the Dragon for Herald trade coming out, because don't get me wrong, right? Soul is incredibly strong, but I feel like one thing we've really seen a lot of this year is the fact that if you have a composition that is going to win out in later game team fights, no matter what Soul it is or who has Soul or not, they're probably still in a position where they're going to win out, or at very least contest, to where Soul just feels like it can make compositions that shouldn't necessarily be able to contest later on more relevant and potentially able to do so.
I mean, we're seeing it proof in the pudding with this Herald trade this early on. I think the important thing to note is first turret blood's already gone down, and bottom turret's still standing there for OMG. 2 plates to the name. New has walked down here and will be able to catch the wave, while Abel shared in that gold. Noon Quiver, Vampiric Scepter. Very good position for Aphelios to do that 200 years thing once again.
Yeah, and we're going to see them just switch back to the bottom lane. They know their bot lane's in a fine position in the 2v2s. No kill pressure able to come out from Loken and LvMao to where they're just going to be able to continuously start whittling down those turrets. Dragon also going to be the next objective to come back up that OMG will probably start wanting to look to play for, especially now. This was a conversation we had with Nelson on the last hit about how LPL teams think, and then what they talked about, right, is that when you see that it is an early Cloud Drake and you know it's not going to be a Cloud Soul, is typically when LPL teams start going, hey, let's start fighting for these Drakes so we can get a soul that they perceive as more valuable.
Okay. No one really likes the Cloud Soul. This game will be the same, right? Second Dragon coming up on the top left-hand corner of your screen. And for OMG, again, just a reminder, about 1,000 gold lead here at 11 minutes in the game. We talked about the scaling, what has to happen in this game. And Lyric, top laners are matching each other again. Abel and Cole back down here. What do you want to see out of Kanavi? Because it is up to him to build tempo.
I feel like at this point, it's already looking so hard in terms of options for JDG. Like, you move down to bot lane, maybe try to make an Enchanted Crystal Arrow play, but Cole just absorbs that with the shield. Yeah. Maybe you find a pick, maybe you don't. But if Aki's on that side of the map, you're going to lose out in the 3v3. You look towards top, your turret's already broken down, News pushing that one in. I feel like for JDG now, you're kind of just reacting to what OMG throws at you rather than the other way around, because any potential play you make without information on where Aki is, I feel like you lose out. You lose out in the 2v2 mid, you lose out in the 2v2 top, and you lose out in the 3v3 bot. Yeah.
I mean, when your lanes have this much pressure, the jungler feels freer than he should be. Aki's going back to his own jungle, walking over some deep wards, which is good for JDG, tracking the jungler half of the battle, and making sure that Kanavi can try and push ahead somewhere on the map right now. Going for topside scuttle, but Aki's also moving. And remember that Creme has the spell book, so if anything breaks out, he will contest, but Kanavi just picks up the scuttle crab, backs away. I guess we just wait a minute 30 for this next Dragon Lyric, wait for the next objective to see how JDG are feeling to react to OMG.
I mean, that's the thing, right? Because now we can see OMG know that they're the ones who are able to make the aggressive plays. As Aki is the one invading the enemy jungle. For Kanavi, I feel like you're getting some of the vision down that you have in bot side and looking to avoid Aki, make plays on the opposite side of the map. But Kanavi's not going to avoid him here.
No, he's not. Angry Olaf, Viking hits an undertow, and Kanavi's out with a flash, but not out with a bang. Aki's still sticking around. Kanavi wants the ward, but the Winter's Bite trying to predict onto the blast cone. Cold was closest. The javelin toss hits narrow, or rather wide. OMG are backing away deep in the jungle, and this is just going to show you the game state every time.
Yeah, and no response able to come out from JDG. I feel like at this point, right, we already see LvMao heading down towards mid, just try and get the push in there, try and get some deep rewards down in the bottom side of the map, and play that game that we were talking about of trying to go where Aki isn't. They will have tempo on the bottom side if they do want to opt into trying to start up an early Drake. We might not even see OMG contest for it. Okay. Aki does look like he's going towards that bot side, but Zoom's looking for the all-in.
Yeah, but Mundo goes where he pleases. You know, it doesn't matter. How much swagger does this skin have? The walk, the little hop every time his foot lands, throwing the briefcase. I've seen Wolf of Wall Street, but I think he's even cooler than Leonardo DiCaprio, to be quite honest. And that's a hard thing to say, folks. But when you're wearing a pink suit, you got sunglasses, and you look like Dwayne The Rock Johnson, you know, you're cooler than anyone.
You know, there were many Dwayne The Rock Johnson segments last year, so we won't go into that one because both teams actually are going to contest for the Drake.
But OMG, you're on it.
JDG, yeah, Loken's making his way down now. Double TP, both TPs coming out.
Almost stolen with the javelin toss, but Smite comes down. A dragon apiece, good for OMG, but not if they die here. Fully on in with Enchanted Crystal Arrow, but it hits an Olaf, while Abel now the target for Zoom, but OMG grouped up, have to worry about Yagao, who's already burnt the shockwave. Creme misses his own. He's hitting the support, but now Loken has free time. JDG have been given a bit of a blessing here with OMG dropping 3.
And a big thing to me was just that the angle that the fight was, Abel was taking a lot of damage from members who were coming through the choke on the side of JDG, so he was getting chunk low. Cold already gotten engaged on, and we saw there that Creme, even despite the fact that numerous members had gone down, was able to do so much work. But like you're saying, it feels like JDG definitely benefiting a lot off of the bad positioning, but Yagao as well. Really nice shockwave coming out from him.
Yeah. Came through and only saw the cornerstone of it as well, so we'll have to watch it in the replay. But JDG benefiting so much. They were down in gold. They're in a position where this comp that needs to get rolling wasn't building up any momentum. OMG might come back on the map and start this Rift Herald, but at least JDG got their first turret.
It's just crazy to see that Yagao now has 4 kills, right?
Yeah.
Now 4-0 on this Orianna for a champion that probably wasn't going to be relevant for a decent amount of time in that game. Now definitely going to come online, finish that Ludens. We're going to see here what happened because Zoom coming from one side, Kanavi coming from the other, Abel taking a decent amount of damage here from the combo of Zoom and Kanavi. No one able to peel him off. And then Creme on the back end feels like he could have been a bit more aggressive with when he went in. Really nice shockwave from Yagao, like we had already highlighted. And then OMG just left in this awkward position, right? So Zoom finding the flank, Kanavi finding his way over the wall as well. You're getting a ton of damage onto the prime carry for OMG. Yagao following up with the shockwave, and then just everything fell into place for JDG to find that win. They are now the team with the gold lead, and this Orianna is now huge.
Yeah, so do you play...
huge, as they say from the Northeast USA, where I'm from.
Yeah, okay. All right. The northeast? You say northeast?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't really know geography too well, to be honest. You know, when you told me your state once upon a time, I actually had to look it up. So I'm so sorry. To be fair, though, if I told you I lived in Wollongong or Coolangatta, you'd be like, what the bloody hell are you talking about?
Hey, my state is the place in America that most closely resembles Australia. So you see it, you'll probably think it's like home.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's desert. There's nothing there.
Well,
just like Australia.
Hang on. I'm on the coast. We're on the water. You know, things are not... It's not that deserty. We're kind of wet. We're splish splash and rainforest and all that kind of stuff. The middle of Australia is deserty, but that's a bit different. Hang on, engage time, and the shockwave comes through. Soulflare in the backline, but Cold in a great position to block the damage. And there's a Moonlight Vigil and Creme. This is where the Everfrost would have been beautiful, but it's a little bit short. He didn't want to abscond, abduct, nor flash, and JDG get away from the deep invade.
And now OMG going to be the team who are able to turn on mid. They still have Rift Herald as well. Looks like not really in a position where they're able to use that because they do not have a full wave built up just yet. I feel like the fact that OMG were able to counteract and not fall prey to the play that JDG were setting up is a nice win for OMG, but nice to see signs of life in JDG, right?
Oh, absolutely.
They have push out in the bot lane. They make the aggressive invade into the enemy jungle. They try to find the opportunity, but nice ults from both Cold and Abel, allowing them to disengage.
And I was going to ask you, because it was obviously Yagao at the center of that play as well. Is the answer now for JDG, if they want to push momentum, if they want to look good towards this next dragon, just simply playing around the Orianna?
Right? I mean, now for JDG, even later on in the game, if they find a great shockwave, there's always going to be hope. There's always going to be potential for some kind of massive outplay. That's not really the type of win condition you want to bank on. Just, hey, Yagao, just hit a nice 4 or 5 man shockwave. But the fact that there's something is at least hope.
Yeah, that's right. Hope is the name of this game for JDG when the series has started out so rotten and so rough. JDG in game number 1 absolutely outclassed. Game 2 was looking that way with a 3-for-2 trade in the bottom lane. But again, that shockwave, that triple kill for Yagao has instilled that word again, hope. As he's just picked up a Bandle Glass Mirror there, Lyric. So second item not too far away. But we have to remember Dragon's coming up. So it's all going to come down to this and see if OMG can hold off or if JDG are able to force another fight.
And OMG going to be the ones to walk into River first, but Zoom pushing in that bot side, so giving JDG a potential avenue to enter River from, and this is also going to be really massive coming out from Kanavi, right? If these spears can connect, if you can chunk people like Abel down low, it's going to put you in a position where you're able to contest. And OMG, realizing they have that Herald, are going to try and force tempo for themselves, put JDG in a place where they have to react, and then OMG can just walk back into River and potentially get a better position for this incoming Drake fight.
But the damage from Yagao, we talked about it, the dissonance beautiful. Onto Creme, he tries once again, the spear not landing onto Cold Eater off the wing. Watch this Silas's angle as Hijack is available, and he hasn't picked an ulti just yet. New frontlining as well, big business meeting, and he doesn't want to ruin the clientele. JDG walking into River, and look at the Dragon already being taken down. Aki still on it, not into the pit. It's gone, and OMG had the objective, but now do they want the fight? Soulflare onto Abel, he cleanses away. New at the front line as well. It's Zoom as a crikey croc. Hits pretty true. Kanavi with yet another spear, doesn't hit the Shuriken Flip Man, who smashes down Yagao for half his HP. Aki on the side, low health bars, but OMG, they lose no one. They get the Dragon, another win.
Yeah, OMG cut it out, but JDG are going to be able to turn onto the mid lane turret. I think it was about 60% HP from what we saw, so JDG should be able to get some good damage onto this, but some members of OMG are here to respond.
Undertow. Quick clear. Coming through in the backline minion way. Zoom gonna get poked down. Chadicus arrow stolen away. They got Yagao. He's got a bounty. And it's just been shared over to Creme, who flashes away. TP off the side. Mundo go for big smash this time with a briefcase to the face. JDG lose their mid laner. The gold goes over. And once again, OMG are even neck and neck.
And that is so tragic because that is the one member that you cannot lose on the side of JDG. He's the most critical member in any of these fights or skirmishes coming out. It feels like you really rely on that poke coming out from Kanavi and Yagao as we saw before. But once again, another reprieve for the side of OMG. They're the team leading in terms of Drakes. Gold now completely even. And, I mean, for OMG, inaction is action, so they're still just in, I'd say, a pretty commanding position as we're going to get the replay here of what happens. Does take away the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, and the Yagao just a bit too far forward. Really nice steal coming out from Creme, though, to set that all up, and then setting up the rest of the CC to follow through. OMG try to find more. They force out more flashes, and at the end of the day, I think very crucial teamfight victory for the side of OMG, because now we're going to get to a place in 3 minutes where at a dragon fight, look at the opposite side. No flash on LvMao, no flash on Loken, and no flash on Zoom. I feel like these are all very important tools to where for Abel, he still has his flash. He's still set up for success. You still have all the peel tools around you. So I feel like OMG definitely going to be a bit favored in that next fight. But OMG, JDG right now trying to force down mid. They do have Enchanted Crystal Arrow if they are able to find anything.
But Hijack is available. Won't have the arrows. TP's coming through off of the wing. JDG going to have 5 mid here before Dragon. And that teleport, you have to remember, that's not going to be available if we get split pushing once again. That was Yagao joining midway.
And for JDG, so just going to have a bit of an ARAM session. We do have the Grievous Wounds coming out on the side of Yagao, the Chemtech Putrefier.
Yeah.
I think I would have probably preferred to see him just sit on the Oblivion Orb and start making his way to, you know, like a higher profile damage item, rather like if it was something like a Void Staff to deal with a lot of the frontliners that OMG have, because for Yagao, right, I feel like you are going to have to step up and be the carry. You are going to be the member that's going to need to dish out the damage. JDG do have a ton of burst. If there is one member overextended on the side of OMG, it feels like they just will be gone, right? If Abel walks too far forward, Enchanted Crystal Arrow, you eat a spear, you eat a shockwave, he's gone, but that relies on mistakes coming out from him. So for JDG right now, they keep just trying to really hard force mid, continuously just showing on wave, trying to get this poke down. They do have decent siege coming out from NIdalee, and then Ashe able to spam these volleys, but no neutral objective you're able to turn towards the side and connect to right now. So for JDG, just feels like you're sharing a lot of experience for not, but OMG are forced to respond as Zoom does get pushed in bot side. So
we A-ramming just a little bit. Kind of nice here. So you mentioned Zoom at the bottom side with this teleport available. I am counting down the top left of our screen. 1 minute 20 folks here before OMG and JDG must fight again. 2 dragons already for OMG is a great start here. But for JDG, getting the pedal to the metal once again. And you talked about the burst. I love that point, because even though, you know, JDG might not be miles ahead, they've still got 2 items on NIdalee, on the Ashe, on the, even with the Chemtech Putrefier,
I mean,
on
look
Yagao.
At lose HP.
And that's great damage coming through. Good little arrow, but it's only onto cold. Damage block, solar flare down as well. What are the cooldowns like? 50 seconds until Dragon spawns.
Yeah, it's kind of cool to see JDG adapt into playing this as more of a poke style comp, which you wouldn't really expect when you see champions like Ashe and Orianna. Because you look at OMG, and they actually don't have a ton of engage, right? Their engage is in the hands of Creme, so trying to whittle them down too low to where OMG aren't able to force onto them.
They're dodging away spears for now, though. Even you taking a bit of damage with the Spectre's Cowl in inventory. Creme with the Everfrost locks onto the support, trying to poke them down themselves as he steals away the Shockwave. Watch out for Creme in the middle of the fight, but also remember that Yagao is still 2 items strong with a fully stacked tier. Dragon's up in 10 seconds, Lyric. Baron's also there. Both teams continuing to ARAM. I love it. We haven't even really panned the camera to a side lane in a long time.
I mean, we've seriously had at least 8 members in mid lane for the past like 4 minutes now, right? So
it's a fight. Okay, Glacial
cool.
Fisher slows
flops.
down and it flops. Absolutely flops. But they're still onto LvMao. Concussive blows stack up. The Moonlight Vigil as well. Shockwave used by Creme to pull them back in. Loken in a bit of trouble. The dive continues. He gets 1. He gets 2. He wants a triple, but it's taken by Arky. OMG, call the bluff. Take him down. 4 for nothing.
It doesn't matter if the Glacial Fissure doesn't hit anyone because OMG are still able to find the engage. Creme with the Shockwave, like you said, able to pull in multiple members. And this should be a Baron for OMG. Only Kanavi up. Does have Smite available, but with Creme here, with New making his way over.
Oh,
Kanavi
he hits everything. Oh, the Everfrost Chain Lash follows through Kanavi, running for his life. It's like Tarzan following Jane. You know that if Tarzan finds the... I don't know how I'm going with this lyric. I'm going to stop myself before I get fined. OMG with the Baron. That's a good thing.
I mean, we're going to go into the replay. The one thing that stood out to me is I don't think Yagao ever had an opportunity to throw it on his ult. Glacial Fissure doesn't hit. JDG looked confused on whether to turn or not as LvMao starts the engage, and then Creme with the flash shockwave. Yagao never even getting a chance to respond. They're just able to fall forward. And this even shows earlier on in the game and going to game one, right, that OMG were always grouped up as 5. They had a very easy choice between like how to focus on members. For JDG, you had 2 members cut off on one side with the rest just straight down mid, and they weren't able to get that same target focus, get the burst down that we were highlighting earlier, and it just opened up for OMG to be able to take that. With Baron now, they're going to have push, they're going to have prile, they're winning out in items, so they're going to be able to take this Drake for free. JDG trying to get a response with top turret on the opposite side, also getting some deep vision down. But now OMG definitely going to be dictating the game, and JDG, you're just going to have to play the response.
Well, the response might not be good enough, right? The spear did nothing because he healed up with Sephiroth. Sole point, OMG with the Baron. What did we say here, Lyric? JDG needed to lead this game with NIdalee, with Renekton, with how the game should be played out. OMG with amazing scaling. They've already hit that point in 26 minutes in. Side lane's pretty much free. Zoom has to go into Dominus. Abel joins in, but look at mid. Mundo is Frank the Tank. Bill the Fridge. Doesn't rhyme with fridge, but it was a close guess as he keeps pushing in.
Yeah, and now, I mean, JDG are just being spread too thin. 2 members having to answer the push that New's causing in the mid lane. Means that OMG going to try and use the next wave to hopefully be able to take down this inner turret bot side. And you've already utilized some ultimates on the side of JDG, right? No Dominus for Zoom, so he's not going to be anywhere near as tanky or as strong if he does have to jump into a fight. Abel right now definitely having a ton of damage with the guns he has available.
Ooh, Solar Flare Flash. It was stolen away by Creme. I want to say this, Lyric. Apart from that one shockwave from Yagao, every ult that Creme has taken has been better than the real ult by the user on JDG.
And look, OMG are in a commanding position, OMG are winning. Doesn't really feel like the time to pull negatives on OMG, but I feel like it has to be said, Hysterics. I'm really curious when we're going to see more teams like really punish Creme's champion pool, right?
Yep.
Because we saw the Akali banned, and he only realistically plays 2 other champions consistently. Sylas, Akali, Viego. Anything else Creme has pulled out has been like a really niche, either off-meta pick or something like Orianna, which we've not really seen him pick up, right? He's played Orianna once, played Victor 3 times. Other than that, Yasuo, Kiana, Kassadin. I mean, so...
Good point.
Feels like JDG could have tried to do that, especially this game where OMG didn't opt into taking the Viego. They could have gone something like Viego and Sylas and just accepted the fact that maybe Viego has to go jungle, or you could put Viego top lane, but I don't know. For OMG, I think this is nice. You love seeing this style of play. They do it phenomenally, but you just feel like at some point it's going to have to be punished. Luckily, though, it wasn't today. It
wasn't today, and for OMG, if they pick up the win, a win's a win, especially at this point in the LPL. If anyone hasn't tuned in for a while, we're in Week 8, the halfway point just about. We're getting there. And OMG will move to 8 wins if they can win this series. They will be one step closer towards playoffs after so many days here. As they hit onto the inhibitor turret. Good dodge away from Abel, and Chadicrus arrow hits an Olaf. You don't want that, and Creme now has a bigger arrow that has AP scaling. And that launches immediately. Someone gets blasted away. OMG don't lose anything in the mid lane. New is taking no damage. Another important business meeting with the turret. And there it is, onto LvMao. The Glacial Fissure, shockwave only onto Cold. Abscond abduct, a golden Leona at the end of the day. That ult doesn't hit from Abel, but it doesn't need to. And JDG are getting absolutely torn apart. Zoom into the middle though. Wants Abel and is doing quite a lot of work. Needs to spin to heal up, but they're too far behind, Lyric. At 29 minutes in, you wouldn't be saying that with this comp. As Creme versus Yagao, it's Creme all the way.
And for OMG, they're going to differentiate themselves from a direct competitor by taking down JDG. Creme once again having such standout performances.
It's looking good for OMG. Onto Kanavi. That won't land, but no defense needed. OMG, it's not a 2-1, it's a 2-0. Remember, against JDG, as they move to 8 wins and get closer to breaking that curse of no playoffs.
OMG to me looked like the team that would be the odd man out of the teams on 6 losses. But with this win against JDG, they have LGD left. Definitely a doable task. They get up to 9. It looks almost guaranteed. And even Top Esports, who's been incredibly shaky recently, it definitely feels like it will be OMG's time to make it. So OMG, phenomenal win. Looking at the other side of the coin real fast, JDG, not only does this one sting, you have very tough matches coming up. FPX next, probably the best informed team in the league right now, I'd say. 5-win streak for FPX. On the flip side, JDG, this is their 4th series loss in a row. They just haven't been able to piece it together. It goes back to what we said at the start of the day as well, just continuously trying different things in draft. Sometimes their draft's not looking the most like coherent in terms of like the goal of the 5 champions together like we saw in game 1. And then just beyond that, not anything drafts or identity, just their execution was way off. I mean, we think about the early fight in front of Dragon Pit, right? And so many members weaving in and out. Kanavi hitting the blast cone, forcing LvMao over the wall, and then 2 members flashing over the wall to kill Creme, which leaves Loken in a bad position. And OMG just completely took advantage of it.
And it's so good for them that this was a 2-0. Pointed that out at the end because they had a negative game differential, only by 1, but a -1 game differential. Now they move up to +1. Now they're in the positive, folks, here at an 8-6 team. OMG are getting closer and closer to breaking that curse, Lyric. It has been since 2017 summer. It's looking good, especially when we see games like this, where we see games where OMG are happy to match, even against the early game comp. That bottom side play, or the all-in 5 versus 5, I like that OMG are sticking to their guns, at least going all in on their decisions.
And I just want to hit back on not only like 2017, I'll hit on the number. 1,456 days since this org has made playoffs. On the flip side, JDG hasn't missed playoffs since 2019 summer. So 706 days for the side of JDG. Point is, going to be a real role reversal if, you know, JDG can't pick up wins in their next series and miss out, or if OMG can continue this momentum. But this series today, like you said, OMG stuck to their guns. They stuck to the style that they know. They're going to keep early picking Akali. They're going to keep early picking Sylas. And unless teams pick that away, they don't care. They don't give a damn about the matchup or who they're facing. They're just going to keep picking what they're good at.
It's a tough time here for JDG. FPX coming up next, you mentioned. Rogue Warriors still, at the moment, they're taking games off of big teams. Game differential matters a lot in the LPL as JDG now sits 7-7. I mean, you have to look at them and wonder, are they going to be one of the next teams to be eliminated before the end of week 8, the start of week number 9 as we roll towards the end of the split? I want to talk more about that OMG schedule before we go through the game one more time. LGD and Top Esports. LGD, that's the win that counts as well. You'll move up to 9. You'll probably be safe because, as we've seen in the past, 9 has always been those 6 to 10 kind of slots coming through. And as Creme picks up MVP, I feel like at the cornerstone of this win, this mid laner, again, having another great performance alongside Arky. I mean, 7 MVPs in your rookie split. That's a bit wild.
It's just so cool, right? That the perfect storm happened of when this guy got picked up and the meta that he came into in the league. And it's just so great to see, right? We've always seen with LPL teams, it is always about the meta. Teams don't typically change too much stylistically in terms of like what champions they go towards or what size or what players they like to play around. So Creme definitely in the perfect league for his style to be just completely enabled and worked out, and he's done such a great job. I think the thing I love most about him is how fearless he is, right? He always looks for these plays. It seems like he has such a great understanding of the limits of his champions because he does have such a controlled champion pool. There'll be times where like, oh god, like we just couldn't believe that he went for that solo kill and he's able to pick it up, and just been quite a pleasure to watch. So Creme, again, going forward, I feel like we need to keep our eye on that champion pool, especially if OMG make the playoffs, best of 5s. That's going to be a cruel beast, but for now, I mean, we just get to keep seeing OMG champ forward.
And I do love that.
Next is LGD. They get to play against